Hello everyone! In this Hearthstone Journey to Un'Goro card spotlight, I want to take a look at Vicious Fledgling. Vicious Fledgling is a really interesting card because it's a card that can potentially win games on its own, but on the other hand it has largely flown under the radar. It's not something that people are that cognizant of yet. It's a 3-mana 3/3 beast with a very special power. After it attacks a hero, you adapt it. And that's real snowballing potential. The first attack that you get in with a Vicious Fledgling, you always want to seek out that Wind Fury. And there's a 30% chance to find any specific adapt on each try, so you only get it around one third of the time. But when you find that Wind Fury, that means that you can attack face again immediately, and then you get to adapt again. And after you find Wind Fury, every turn from there on out, it's 2 adapts per turn as long as you can go face. And that's some real power right there. What limits the power of Vicious Fledgling a little is that you really want to go face with it because you want to get those adapts in. So if you are forced to use Vicious Fledgling to do trades, then that feels sort of a waste. Although there have been some games, for example, where I have had Divine Shield and Poisonous and a Vicious Fledgling, and then punching through some Taunt Warrior taunts has been pretty much a breeze. The most comfortable home Vicious Fledgling has found so far in the metagame is in Aggro Druid. Aggro Druid is a natural home for Vicious Fledgling. First of all, Aggro Druid has Innervate, so there's always that chance that you get Innervate and Vicious Fledgling in your opening hand, and then you can slam it down on turn 1, and most of the time it goes unanswered and wins you the game if you get it down that early. Furthermore, Aggro Druid runs on beast synergies with Mark of Yashurash. So Vicious Fledgling, Mark of Yashurash, give it +2/+2, draw a card at the same time. What's there not to like? Simply some awesome stuff is possible with this card. Druid would also have more beast synergies available to it as a class, but so far any attempts at slower beast druid list have not met with success. If the druid list is a real ramp druid type of list, then it doesn't really want Vicious Fledgling. Vicious Fledgling is a fairly aggressive card, so it would have to be some kind of a mid-range beast druid. But then you could have stuff like Menagerie Warden, maybe even Vermin Sensei. There are some interesting synergies that would be available if a mid-range beast druid deck would be found. But right now, aggro is the way to go. The second most common home for Vicious Fledgling is in Midrange Hunter. It has a beast stack, it curves out into Houndmaster on the following turn, and you can play it together with a Tundra Rhino in the late game. What's there not to like again? There are some really sweet things you can do in Hunter decks with Vicious Fledgling. That said, Vicious Fledgling does suffer from a little bit of anti-synergy in the overall Midrange Hunter game plan. Because Midrange Hunter typically wants to control the board early on and move over to dealing face damage a little bit later in the game. And Vicious Fledgling, because of the adaptation ability, it really wants to hit face all the time. So there's this little bit of anti-synergy in. You want to go face with the Fledgling, but you also, the general strategy of your deck is to control the board. So that's why Vicious Fledgling has not seen universal play in Hunter, even though it remains one powerful option that you can choose for the deck. Over the past few days, I have actually been experimenting with Vicious Fledgling in Tempo Warrior, and that's another potential home. You have Vicious Fledgling on 3, you have Frothing Berserker on 3. That gives you 4 3-drops that the opponent just has to remove. That can sometimes result in some really funny situations where you coin out a Fledgling on 2. Okay, the opponent is able to deal with that. Okay, then you drop the Frothing on 3. And can you deal with that one too? And this sort of situations where you just keep creating more threats than the opponent is able to remove. Furthermore, Tempo Warrior can protect the Vicious Fledgling to an extent, because Tempo Warrior lists tend to run at least some taunt minions nowadays. Say you curve out Vicious Fledgling into Bloodhoof Brave. Bloodhoof Brave is a very common card in Tempo Warrior right now. Big threat on 3 into taunt that protects it on 4. That's pretty powerful. Or maybe you grab the Vicious Fledgling from the Curator. and then the curator as a taunt body is able to protect the fledgling. There are some really nice things you can do within Tempo Warrior. Overall though, I am not completely sure whether Vicious Fledgling is good enough for Tempo Warrior, because Tempo Warrior has the alternative that, okay, instead of running this gimmicky snowbally type of card, what if I just run with the Tide Hydra instead? I already have Frothing Berserker for 3, I already have Ravaging Ghoul for 3. Or I could just go with a bit of Tide Hydra on 5. It costs a little bit more mana, so what? I already have the 3 slot somewhat covered. So there are some things that might make the Vicious Fledgling not always an ideal choice for Tempo Warrior, but still it remains one card that is an option for the deck type. Could there be still more homes for the Vicious Fledgling? There is one class in addition to Druid that could theoretically play Vicious Fledgling on 1, and that class is Rogue. Thanks to Counterfeit Coin, Rogue could actually play Vicious Fledgling early. And that's pretty interesting, because in order to make Vicious Fledgling work, you generally either want to get it out early or you want to have the means to protect it. So either you have other things that you can use to trade away the opponent's board, you have taunts on the way, or you have means to play it out early. And Druid has Innovate and Rogue has Counterfeit Coin. So both of these classes in theory have the means to use the Vicious Fledgling in this way. On the other hand, Rogue is often using these coins as combo enablers or maybe to make a bigger Edwin Van Cleef, that kind of things. So it's unsure whether Vicious Fledgling can actually see play in Rogue, but it's something that could be tried out. Another class that could also be interested in Vicious Fledgling is Paladin. Having the Vicious Fledgling in aggro Paladin is an option, but on the other hand, right now aggro Paladin lists are heavily Murloc focused. And Vicious Fledgling as a beast doesn't really fit into that Murloc type of play, so maybe there is no room for Vicious Fledgling in there either, but it's still a card that warrants some consideration. Overall, Vicious Fledgling has been proven to work great in aggro Druid. There are some positive results in Hunter and in Warrior, and there's some potential in some other decks as well. So even though this card has generally flown under the radar and people are not that much aware of it, it's still something you should consider when you're building an aggressive deck, and see whether it can support your deck's strategy and help you win games. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the show, please click the like button and subscribe to my channel for more.